No! No! What are you doing, Billy?
I'm mad, monsieur.
What do you mean you're mad? What'd I do wrong?
What do you mean, why am I mad? Using the wrong razor!
What do you mean wrong razor? This is the only razor you use. Bro, what's the matter with you?
Oh, just shut it, you little piece of... Alright, Billy. Alright, stop it. Fine.
Son of a nutcracker. Beep. Well, anyways, welcome to the DB Man Show. Today I was going to make a video on how to shave with a cartridge razor, but Billy decided to use a straight razor instead because he says that these little medieval torture devices are actually better for you. He's such an idiot. Anyway, when you are using a straight razor, there are a couple things that you want to keep in mind. The first thing you want to keep in mind is that this does look like one big piece of metal, but there are actually three parts to a straight razor. You got the top, the middle, and the bottom. And the reason why I say this is because when you're using a straight razor, there are going to be times where you're going to just use the top, middle, or bottom. Like if I'm doing my bottom lip, sometimes if I want to get to a certain hair that I can't get with the whole thing, I'm just going to use the top so I can get it. And when you're doing different sections of a razor, you are going to have to use different kinds of pressure. And I know that there are always people who are saying, oh, use 30-degree angles for this kind of razor, that kind of razor. But to be honest, that doesn't really help. To actually learn how to use any razor, you're going to have to take chances and say, okay, this isn't cutting enough, so I'm going to have to tilt it a little bit more, and etc. Another thing that you're going to have to keep in mind when you use a straight razor is how to hold it. Now there are two ways on how to hold a straight razor. The first way is to have your pinky and the tang, the ring, the nip, and the index on the top, and your thumb on the bottom. Now I don't really like this method because it feels a bit unnatural to me, but everyone has their preferences. And the second way to hold a straight razor is to have the ring and pinky on the tang, the middle and pointer on the front, and the thumb on the bottom. This is the method I prefer using because it feels natural to me, but again, everyone has their preferences. Now, another thing about the straight razor, there are two kinds of straight razor. A manual, which means you have to sharpen it yourself using a straw, and one that takes razor blades, where they have half of a razor blade and you stick it in the point of the straight razor. Now when you're using the strop, it's pretty straightforward. It's a piece of leather and you hook it onto something. And you want to hold the strop nice and tight. Then you want to have your razor, and I prefer holding it by the little stem right here. And then you're going to lay it slightly tilted, not too much because that's going to dull the blade, but slightly tilted, almost like how you would use a shave. You're going to run it across and then back 10 times. So it would be 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Now, when you're using a straight razor, I prefer using shave soap instead of normal canned shaving cream because using the shave soap stimulates the hairs and the canned shaving cream does not. I already went over on how to use the shave soap and how to properly apply it in my double-edged razor shaving video, so you can check that out in the link below. And now without further ado, let's get shaving. Now when you're using a straight razor, you want to keep one very important thing in mind, and that is to use little or no pressure at all. This is because if you use too much pressure, you will cut your face. This isn't nicknamed the cutthroat razor for nothing. This is very easily able to cut someone. There has been a time where I've used too much pressure and I gave myself a nice little nick on the chin. I didn't even feel it. It's that sharp. Alright, so when you're shaving the side of your face, you want to line up the razor on where you're wanting to shave. You take your opposite hand and you stretch out the skin. This isn't necessarily mandatory, but I believe that this gives you a better shave. So I'm going to give myself a nice little mark on where to begin. Now I see it, stretch out the skin, and I begin my shave. Notice I'm using short, slow strokes to make sure that I'm getting all the hairs I need and I'm not cutting myself. And every couple strokes, you want to wipe off the blade because you want to keep it nice and clean. The lower you get, the farther you reach down to stretch out the face. Now that you've gotten this side of your face done, you want to get the opposite side of your face. Now this one is going to be a little bit more difficult because when you're holding the razor, it's pretty much blocking your field of vision. So when you're using a straight razor, you also have to know your face pretty well because there are going to be times where it's going to be hard to see. You can shave like this, but I find it a little bit more difficult for me because you start to get a little bit tangled up here when you're stroking. So I personally use it like this. And again, I'm going to mark where I'm going to start, stretch out my face, and then I begin. Now that I've gotten both cheeks done, it's time to do the upper and bottom lip. Now when you're doing the upper and bottom lip, it's going to be a little bit different. Instead of taking your hand and stretching out the skin, you're just going to do it yourself by pursing your lips like this. You're going to do that when shaving the upper and the bottom lip. And when you're doing this, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful because you got your nose in the way and you got your chin. The chin is, in my opinion, one of the hardest places to get with a straight razor because this is a big piece of metal and it's kind of hard to maneuver around all of the skin. So let's begin. And now it's time to get the chin and the neck. Now when you're doing the chin and the neck, you have to be extremely careful since this is the most delicate part of the skin on your face. And this is nicknamed the cutthroat razor after all because this is very easy to cut yourself. Now when you're doing your neck, you again are going to want to stretch the skin and tilt your head upward. So you're going to have to look down at the mirror so you can clearly see where you're shaving safely. So I'm going to take my razor and I'm going to stretch out the skin like before and slowly start shaving. Now as you can see, I have a fresh new lather on my face because it's time for the second shave. Now the reason why we do the second shave is to ensure that we get all the hair off of our face. Now you can still go along with the grain for your second shave, but I prefer to go against because when you go against, you lift up the hairs and you cut, so you get a closer shave as you go against the grain. Now when you're going against the grain with a straight razor, you're going to have to flip it upside down. Now this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable for your first time doing it, but you get used to it, I promise. Now when I go against the grain, first I still make my mark normally with the grain, and then give it a wipe, go against the grain, and I start still using slow, short strokes. Now that you got this cheek done, it's time to get the other side. Now it's going to be pretty much the same thing, only you're going to be going this way. It's again going to be very awkward and it's going to cut off a little bit of your point of view, but trust me, if once you get really good at it and you know where your face is, it is a walk in the park. Now again, I'm going to do the same thing, mark where my end point is going to be, wipe the blade, and then I start. And now since you got both cheeks done, it's time to do the upper and lower lip. Now it's going to be the same thing as before, just like how the rest of your face is going to be, but against the grain. So you are going to have to flip it upside down for this. I know it's going to be uncomfortable for all of it since this will be a new experience, but hey, it's going to be a better shave than all the rest of the razors. Now when I'm going against the grain, I like to start with my bottom lip, but you can start however you please. Now, like how before, I am still going to be stretching my skin by pursuing my lips and even maybe blowing a bubble into my lower and upper lip as well, because that also helps to spread out the hairs. If you want to do so with your cheeks, go ahead, it's always going to help. So I'm always going to start doing slow, short strokes. Alright, now that you got your bottom and upper lip done, it's time to do the neck. And the interesting thing about when you're doing the neck, when you're using straight razor shaving, is even on your second and first shave, there are going to be times where you're going to have to switch between going against and going with the grain because of how things are placed. Like right here, I'm going to have to go against the grain. I have no choice. Because if I go like this, I can't get it. I'm going to miss because my chin is in the way. So whatever you need to do to get to the places on your face, whether it's going against or going with the grain, you're going to have to do. Alright, now that you've finished up with your second shave, it's time to finish up with your aftershave. Now in my last shaving video, I didn't exactly go over how you're actually supposed to use an aftershave. But when you use an aftershave, you want to give enough that you need to hydrate your entire face. Because the purpose of an aftershave is to hydrate your face and to prevent razor burn and irritation. So you want to rub it in and you want to place it everywhere you shave. Pretty simple, right? Yes, it's like putting on lotion, but I didn't go over the other part. You also want to massage it into your skin to make sure it gets into your pores in every area where you use your razor. Sometimes even going against the grain so you can actually get in there. After you're finished using your aftershave, you have officially finished using your straight razor shave. Now when you first do your straight razor shave, you may not get all of your hairs, and even if you're more experienced like me, there can be times where you're not getting all of your hair. So what I do is, once I'm finished using my straight razor, if I see still a little more hair, I'm going to take it back up again and try to get that. And if for some reason I'm unable to get it, I'll grab something else like my DE razor and then I'll go over it. And when you use that, you're for sure going to get it. This is the DB Man Show, signing off. Have a good day.